I'd like to invite Ingrid on stage, and I'd like to ask her a couple of questions before I hand over the mic to her. Welcome, Ingrid. Okay, I have a couple of questions for you. So one question is, you've been doing this for 35 years. What? 38 years, sorry. The website says 35. My mistake, my bad. 38 years. What gives you the energy to carry on after such a long period with the same amount of intensity?
Well, I'm very encouraged by all the change that has taken place. And if you look back, you see how it was, and now you see all these people interested in vegan living. And that encourages you to keep going. But if you also know how bad the situation is for animals, for the earth, and for health, that also encourages you to keep going.
So you have worked in different countries, right? In the US and also maybe Europe and maybe India also. So are there any differences in the way you are received, or it's like more or less it's equally they're against you, or how does it work?
I think people are people all over the world. Everybody is the same, even if they look different, if they sound different, if they're from different countries or religions. People are people. So some are kind, some don't know, and some are cruel. So we have to work with all of them, but every country has something special in the worst way, like bullfighting in Spain, or seal killing in Canada, or so it goes.
Okay, the one question I always had in mind, see, as human beings, as children, we always brought up, there's an inherent abhorrence to violence. No child will ever, I mean, unless they are few psychopathic ones or whatever, they'll never ever, go and kill any other living being. And here, or kill or torture or maim or trouble or whatever. But here you have people who are doing this on a daily basis. How do they do it? How do they deaden their souls? How do they manage to do it?
I don't know. I think that sometimes people just, the way I don't see art, some people look at a painting and they know the intricacies of that painting. I look at an animal and I see the eyes looking back at me, a reflection of myself. But some people look at an animal and they see a thing to ridicule or to ignore or to torture, and I don't know why.
Okay. Last couple of questions. If all the campaigns that you've done in so many years, 38 years, can you tell us about one or two of them which really stand out in your mind as, outstanding ones? I mean, sure, all of them are, but one or two which, for some reason, stick in your mind.
I think one of the things that sticks in my mind as an important campaign was, at one point, every car company in the world was smashing monkeys and pigs into a wall in car crash tests to test the safety of helmets, the safety of seats. And we campaigned very vigorously to stop this. And first one, then another. Some companies didn't listen at all. And we ended up being very, very aggressive in this campaign. And now, if you see a mannequin on television or somewhere in a car commercial, that's because we stopped all the animal tests for car crash across the world.
Oh, that's great. Well, last question from my side. Have you ever felt being at personal risk or danger or harm when you went about doing this work? Did people whose livelihoods were being threatened, or they perceived it as being threatened, were they actually, come out very strongly against you and possibly caused you a feeling of risk, danger?
Yes, absolutely. Not usually, because there is a sense of law, and we are careful, and our investigators take more risks than I do. But there have certainly been times in slaughterhouses, for example, where the level of callousness is so high that your life is threatened as much as the animals, and you have to be careful. And Purva Joshipura is here from PETA India. She and I were in a taxi after a demonstration against the carriage horse rides in Mumbai, and there was a riot with the carriage horse drivers trying to overturn the taxi. So these things happen, but you can't let them stop you until they stop you.
Okay, one more question if you don't mind. Because it's not very often I get a chance to share the stage with a celebrity like you, so I want to make the most of it. So the thing is that, there are now some laws and stuff I read in the paper that animals are now being denied rights as living persons, as sentient persons, and they are not entitled to any of the rights what human beings are entitled to. So there is some kind of a legal movement in that direction in some countries. So what is your view on that? I mean, when you see an animal, do you really see a sentient being who is like, how does the communication happen between you and the animal when you look at it in the eye?
Well, it's a fact that they're flesh and blood like us. They have a heart, they have eyes, they have thoughts, they have emotions, they love, they feel pain, they feel fear. There's no question. And I'm going to talk about its human supremacy, the idea that we think of ourselves as gods, and we think of all the other living beings as trash, as rubbish. That's the problem. The fact is we are all the same. And at some point, just as people with disabilities or children have been afforded rights, or women have been afforded rights, gay people have been afforded rights, one day all the animal kingdom will be afforded rights if we work for it.
Okay, so thank you so much. I'll now leave you to audience, and please go ahead with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your patience. I have some notes, otherwise I'll get lost and talk to you for about 4 hours. So this is called a call to action. And action isn't only something that you call out on a film set. It's very important in our own lives. Henry Beston was a philosopher, a very wise person. He said, "We patronize animals for their incompleteness, for their tragic fate of having taken a form so far below our form. And that's a mistake. Other animals should not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move finished and complete. They are not underlings, they are other nations, fellow prisoners of the splendor and travail of earth." And that's a lesson I think is wonderful to remember, because we have no idea of how much animals know. We're always finding out new facts or inspiring facts about animals. Recently, we discovered something I had no idea about, is that to attract a mate or to warn of danger, the feathers on a peahen's head vibrate in sync with the tail of the peacock when he displays it. She gets his message. What did we know? Anyone who says animals are mute, animals have no voices, animals can't communicate, of course they can. The problem is we don't understand their communication. I think of ahimsa as being like the Hippocratic Oath of first do no harm. But it has a corollary, and that is prevent harm whenever you can. If ahimsa, where's the thing? Can you see that at all? You can see it? It's okay? If ahimsa is only a passive part of our lives, a word, then it loses all potency. Not causing suffering is one thing, but ahimsa life is different than that. It means that we simply never shake our heads and get sad at what's happening to others, at the wrongness of suffering. But as Tolstoy advised, if we see suffering, we move closer to it. We don't leave, we don't turn our head, we move closer to it. And we do all we can to try to stop it. And just one person can help enormously. The power of the individual is extremely strong. One individual of any kind can make a difference. Can you see that? I hope you can. Look at this dear, small hen protecting her young. Life is full of opportunities for action, so we should never have a dull moment. Here's a little video that I hope you can see of someone practicing ahimsa. It's called Breathless. The character is the musician Iggy Pop. Does anyone know Iggy Pop? No. One person. Okay. And the singer is Nick Cave. Does anyone know Nick Cave? 3, 4, 5 people. Excellent. Okay, it's called Breathless. Here it is. Everywhere you look, if you look, we find ways to put ahimsa into action. Last year, I was in Sangli, and we saw a wedding party preparing their band for the ceremony. The handsome groom was about to get on a white horse, but we noticed as we were admiring the horse, there was a little drop of blood coming out of the corner of the horse's mouth. So we stepped closer because we knew that something wasn't right. We lifted up the horse's mouth, his lip, and inside we found that they had a spiked bit. This is a manufactured bit with spikes going up and down it that was cutting into the roof of the animal's mouth. So we asked the groom, please not to ride this horse, to get off and to walk. So I wanted to show you a video of what we have done since then, but I don't think I can. What we've been doing is taking the police and going to places where they hire out wedding horses. And the wedding horses are in terrible condition. It's not only the spiked bits. They often have sores, they're often malnourished, they're often in terrible shape. All things that are covered by these beautiful decorative blankets. If they're lame, the red tape is put around their legs so that nobody notices that all this is going on. Spiked bits are illegal in India. So if you see a wedding horse that has a spiked bit, you can call and get something done. And we should, because all this should go away. In Old Delhi, where the bullock carts, we have something? I'm so excited. What do we got? In Old Delhi, where bullock carts compete with horses and heavy lorries on the street and are laden with all sorts of goods, someone spotted a bull with a broken horn, just in passing. And it turns out he had been in a road accident. Can you imagine his life? A rope eating into his nostrils, and you know they put that rope in with no painkiller whatsoever. They just cut through their septum. He's pulled this way and that. He's hit if he's going too slowly. They put torture devices on his neck so he can't turn his head. The traffic is honking and pulling around him at close quarters. There are fumes in his nose from the exhaust of the vehicles in front of him. So they saw him and they stopped the cart. And they wondered if there was anything that could be done. There is always something that can be done. This person spoke to the bullock's owner, who was an old man. He was scraping a living. He didn't have any other way to put food on the table. So the person helped the old man get a government loan for an eco-jitney so he could put all the load in that and retire the bullock. So PETA sent the bullock to a sanctuary where he's living his happy life. Now, 12 other bullock cart owners have applied for eco-jitneys, and they're all getting them, and we are getting their bullocks too. All because one person didn't think there's nothing I can do, all because one person didn't turn away, but moved closer to the suffering and did something about it. I was going to say, Here is a dog who is out on the street, but I can't show it to you. This dog is in a disgusting condition, very, very upsetting. How many people and for how long pass by dogs on the street who are in terrible condition? But one person saw her, and one person made the call, and one person stayed with her until help arrived. All it took was a telephone call to get her the medical help that she needed. We must never pass by. You think so? Let's try this then. More. So that was the first video I was going to show you. And then when I said people can always do something, we should have, I don't know what that is from here. Oh, this is okay, this is another video. This is the horses. Can we hear it? Can we hear it? Okay.
Hi, I'm Asta.
Hi, I'm Karthik. We chose not to have an animal, specifically a horse or an elephant, as a part of our wedding. I think the charm of a vintage car or probably anything else which does not cause any torture or cruelty is anyway more than an animal which goes through so much just for our celebrations.
It does torture them. You wouldn't want to do that on your wedding night.
Yeah, our celebration shouldn't begin with the torture of an animal.
Yes.
My name is Priyanka Gandhi and I got married last year in January. In fact, for a pre-wedding photo shoot, we did a photo shoot on a Harley Davidson bike, which was so much more fun. My groom arrived in a very nice fancy vintage car. All his friends, they would like jump on and off the car and they were really having a good time. Brainstorm with your partner and come up with different options. Don't hurt animals. I strongly feel about it.
So those are the wedding horses. What else have we got there? No. Oh, that's the one-horned bullock who was in the accident.
हमारा
And
नाम श्रीनिवास है। 30-35 साल है हमको एक बैलगाड़ी चलाते चलाते। पहले कोई परेशानी नहीं थी, भीड़ भाड़ कम थी। आज भीड़ भाड़ ज़्यादा हो गई है, तो अब दिक्कतें आ रही हैं और काफ़ी कहीं टक्कर भी हो जाती है हमारे से। तो इसलिए न ब्रेक है न कुछ है, परेशानी ज़्यादा है। बैल का भी पहले 50 रुपया में काम हो जाता, आज 200 से 250 रुपये में बैल मिलता है। फिर अपना भी खर्चा है, बच्चों का खर्चा है। अब क्या से बनाए, हमारी कोई रिश्तेदारी में कुछ देते हैं कि कोई परेशानी आएगी तो हम भाग गए तो यहाँ तो ये बताओ मर जाता है। 2-3 जानवर तो हमारे मर गए यहाँ पे। 30-35 हज़ार रुपया से कम आता नहीं है जानवर कोई। जानवर सारा दिन धूप में बंधा रहता है, चाहे चौमासे हुए चाहे जेठ मास हुए और चाहे झाड़े हुए, कोई ऋतु हुए, सारे उनके धूप में बंधे। उम्मीद ये है कि हमारी इतनी परेशानी तो कट जाएगी। बैल है, जानवर है और अबू है, सो तो ना धूप में कटेंगे। खाने पीने का खर्चा जो 5 साल पहले कमाते सो अब कमा देंगे, तो उसमें अब बैल का खर्चा तो खत्म हो जाएगा। अपना बच्चों का ही तो चलेगा, उससे गाड़ी से बना चलाते रहेंगे।
So the bullocks are retired and the men all have rickshaws. Then I was going to show you a picture of that dog that was found on the street. There he is. Can you imagine that people went past this dog every day and did nothing, and yet there was something anybody could have done? So one group of animals who need our help are, believe it or not, mother cows. They're worshipped in theory, only in theory. Here they are. We praise them as mothers, the best mothers, yet they're not allowed to be mothers because people grow up thinking they, human beings, need the cow's milk, and we definitely don't. And we grow up wanting milk despite knowing the link nowadays of the A1C to cancers of the colon and the breast. We want it despite knowing that there's pus in it that interferes with our digestion, because people get addicted to it and they say such ridiculous things as, oh no, I must have my curd, I must have my milk. We're grown up. We don't have to say things like that. And because we don't discipline ourselves, cows are denied the right to be mothers. Dairies take their beloved children away so that the milk given by God or given by nature for that calf is sold in the stores for human beings who don't need it. Their need versus human greed. But if we move closer to a cow's suffering, we see that she's not a milk machine. She's a thinking, feeling, living being just like us. An individual so smart that she can use her horns to operate a village water pump just by watching. Yes? No? No, we missed a bit. She can open a gate with her tongue just by figuring it out from watching other people do it. That is not an object. That is a living being. In fact, behaviorists have discovered that cows use very subtle facial and eye movements to express themselves. Again, we think they can't talk. What do they know? But they do. It's just that we don't see. I'm going to show you a little video by an Australian star who had a baby and has taken an ahimsa approach to milk. More.
Animal instinct experience, and the idea of someone taking my baby away from me and taking my milk for better foods is unthinkable. I once was on a holiday near a dairy farm, and there was this noise coming from the dairy farm for 24 hours a day while I was there, and I asked my host, why am I hearing this noise? And she said, oh, that's just taking pasture. And these cows were calling for their babies for days, a whole week of breastfeeding is a wonderful bond that you can share with your baby. A dairy cow doesn't have the choice of whether or not she can breastfeed her baby, because the baby is taken away at birth and she has these breasts, these udders full of milk for her baby, and she can't breastfeed her. of physically and emotionally. I'm vegan because I think kindness makes us happy, and veganism is the greatest act of unconditional kindness. For me, it's about animals and not ours. This notion that we have of dominion over the animal kingdom, I think is updating. They are not here for us, they are here for their own lives. Go to your vegan stuff, PETA.org.
Can you hear that in the back? Yes, okay. So, Dr. John McDougall, who is a world-renowned nutritionist, says something on his radio shows that has always struck me as important. He says, why have we chosen to drink cow's milk? He always says, why isn't it giraffe milk? Is it just there aren't enough giraffes? Or why isn't it pigeon milk? Or why isn't it some other milk? Why is it cow's milk? So I want to show you a little video from the UK that makes that point. Or not.
New dairy product being launched.
Hi, come in and take a seat. Thanks for coming. So this is a focus group for a new dairy brand.
Would you like to try new milk?
Give it a try.
Can I taste it?
Yeah, it's for you. Tell me what you think. Have a taste.
It's kind of sweet.
Sweet.
Well, Jefferson milk is nice.
This is a smooth, it's like a milkshake. What's smooth? That's regular cow's milk.
It's dog's milk.
What?
Fuck me.
What do you mean that's dog's milk?
Dog milk?
Milk for dogs. I mean, this is just for a dog. You should have said so first.
Promoting dog milk now.
Dog milk.
Instead of cow milk.
Yes.
Shame.
Milk for dogs. Would you ever drink that milk? Never. Never. Would you drink it?
You know there's pus in cow's milk. Like pus, like stuff you get from boils.
Oh my God, would you drink that?
There will be a big advertising campaign that will explain all of this.
Who's that picture?
It's disgusting.
Are you being serious?
Make sense? So another area where we need to take action is the use of animals in experimentation. Some otherwise good people cut up animals in their medical training because they think it has to be done, and it does not. Nothing that violates our ethical beliefs ever has to be done. It is ahimsic to say no. If one student objects, then always other students join them, and all use of animals in medical training, as we've seen in the US, as we've seen in Europe, stops. At Harvard, one medical student said years ago, there must be a better way. I won't do this. And now they use simulators that vomit, that breathe, that die. And you can cut them up and put them back together again. They're computer programs, and they work much more beautifully than any animal that is put in the trash when they're killed. Good people achieve so much. Because of their support, PETA has stopped baby mother monkey deprivation experiments. We have stopped food ingredient tests on dogs and rats, and that doesn't mean they're fed the food. They are gavaged with the food and then they're cut open. We have stopped many toxicity, poisoning experiments on dogs. We've stopped all experiments on chimpanzees, including space experiments on chimpanzees. And we have closed laboratories, and we have liberated hundreds of animals who are going to die in them. Today, we employ scientists who once did use animals themselves. but who took a closer look at what they were doing, at the harm, and decided to work to end animal experiments. They help laboratories switch to human organs on a chip, human organs like lungs and kidneys on a computer chip. And remember the simulators at Harvard? Well, they can be used again and again, and PETA has now donated simulators to 27 countries around the world to end the use of animals in medical training. Terrible things still go on, of course, all over the world. Right here in India, we have horses who are repeatedly injected with snake venom to make antitoxins and spider venom to make antitoxins for international drug companies. The horses are covered in sores and they're very thin. Are we showing that now? Okay. So, what we have done now, we are in year 2 of a 3-year funded study to have human and synthetic antitoxins that will replace the use of all these horses in pharmaceutical antitoxin studies. Thank you. Another place that we need to look at closely is leather production. In China, we have investigated and found dogs being bludgeoned to death to make collar trim for jackets, toys for cats, women's gloves, and men's work gloves. They're exported all over the world, but of course they're not marked dog leather. So if someone only cares about dogs, then don't buy any leather because you never know. Cows, too, even for people who don't eat them, commonly end up being made into leather shoes, leather jackets, leather couches, briefcases in other parts of the world and re-imported into India. And all the animals who are used for leather, the cattle, the sheep, the rabbits, the goats, even the crocodiles that are made into bags, and the ostriches and the ducks whose feathers are used for bedding and for jacket filler, all of them are also, their bodies end up being sold as food. So leather and wool and down and cashmere and angora and mohair are not anything that an ethical person wants to be part of. Even the smallest of animals deserves our consideration and our protection. I chose snails, for example. If a snail comes across a dead snail, do you know that they leave as quickly as possible? Just like us, it freaks them out. And if someone takes a snail even 5 kilometers away from where they live, no matter how long it takes them, that snail will make his way home. They remember everything, from where a food dish was put by a person who cared for them. And they don't hear human voices or sounds the way we do. They recognize sounds from vibrations. But they know enough that they will withdraw into their shell if a stranger comes along, and they will open up and look up if there's someone they recognize, this giant they recognize, who has been kind to them and has put a favorite food down. And you hear of dogs and elephants who anticipate a tsunami and they run away. They know it's coming before we do. Snails have been seen climbing up trees and climbing up the sides of walls 2 days before a river flooded. So they have senses that we either once had and lost or never have had. I'm ashamed to tell you that when I was a little girl, I ate snails. I lived in France, I ate snails, and it turns out that snails were the very first animals I stopped eating, but that's a different story. Other small animals are clever too. Here's a little video about a squirrel.
This little guy's been working for about 15 minutes, and I had the lid on tight because I didn't want to make it easy for him. So now you see him, he's thinking about giving up. But one more try here. And you see him actually start turning the lid, and then once he realizes, he takes hold of it, unscrews it,
and watch this.
Grabs the lid, runs to the neighbor's yard and hides it, and comes back for his reward.
Very smart. And so are seagulls smart. Here's a little video about a seagull.
Oh, the dog.
And also, donkeys are really smart too. That's going to be good. Some of them. Can we get that turned off over there? She'll do it. It does pay to have smart friends. Donkeys. So, as the philosopher Jeremy Bentham noted, it is only the hand of human tyranny that rejects the proposition that consideration for others must extend beyond the human being. We're not asking that animals get the right to vote, although particularly in the United States they might have done a better job than human beings. All we're asking is that they simply be allowed the right, the simple right, not to be harmed needlessly and not to be slaughtered for a coat, a snack, an experiment, or to make us giggle. All animals depend on us to act, to stop if we see suffering, always to educate other people. It's wonderful if we change ourselves, if we become the kinds of people we expect ourselves to be. But more importantly, we have to grow this. We have to open other people's hearts and minds and eyes so that they see how powerful they are. So please, educate your friends, educate your family, educate people at work. Take some of the stacks of materials on these stalls. Take them home with you. They're not just for you and me. They're for the people out there who didn't come to this festival. Please buy only cruelty-free ahimsa toiletries and cosmetics. When someone is having a wedding or they're having a baby shower or something, a birthday, please give cruelty-free presents so they can see what's available. Please post our videos on social media and tell politicians, even if you think you are talking to a brick wall, tell politicians what you want to change. Last night in Delhi, I met a minister who has just helped pass a bill that is banning manja, the kite string that cuts up birds and children. Bless his heart. So let's use our voices, our resources. Let's use the bumper stickers on our cars, on our bikes, on our laptops when we're sitting in a coffee shop and everyone can read that bumper sticker on the open laptop. Let's put stickers on meat and dairy packages for people who only care about dogs, or so they think. Let's hand out and leave leaflets everywhere. You can find me by the trail of leaflets that I leave. They're in the back of the airplane seat pocket, they're on the bus, they're at the gym, wherever. And please challenge anyone who denigrates animals. Stop a bullock cart, get help for street dogs, do everything that we can. An ahimsa world can happen, but only if we make it happen. Here's how. Let's cultivate our empathy. Let's appreciate animal consciousness, activate ourselves for change, participate in protests, advocate for the rights of our fellow living beings, agitate for a kinder world, alleviate all the suffering we can, ameliorate whatever pain we see, and liberate the oppressed. Let's not annihilate, exterminate, asphyxiate, liquidate, exsanguinate, decapitate, mutilate, mutate, violate, lacerate, or humiliate. Let's never hesitate to tell the truth to others or circumnavigate the facts because it's more comfortable for us not to raise the issue. Let's not equivocate but stand strong. Let's not prevaricate because we're afraid to take action. Let's not negate our responsibilities to all living beings. Let's emancipate. Let's elevate. Let's educate, facilitate, and activate our own personal potential to change the world. Let's make animal liberation a vital part of all of our lives, not a hobby, not a tea party, but an integral part of what we do every single day, and we will get the kind of world that we want. I'm going to leave you with this video from the famous rapper RZA. Who knows RZA? Yeah, it's getting better, getting 11. RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. Thank you and good luck in everything you do. Our resources are your resources. Anything you want, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. I'll request Ruchika to come and give a small memento. The food coupons there inside. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.